So this, as I said, this question, sorry for the mistake, but I changed the ending time, but I didn't change time limit. So you have to do it according to that time limit, but the time limit was set based on the start time. So even though I extended the finish time, because of time limit, somebody got only 4 minutes and so on. So that's a legitimate argument. So that was my mistake. So that's why I canceled this one. But this quiz with some modification, as I said, I don't just make the exam same as the quiz, exactly same, but change some numbers or change some wordings and so on. And some people ask, I said that I canceled the quiz and give everybody the full point, but they didn't see the change in the Google courses. Don't worry about that, because I don't just use Google courses directly. I import the grade from Google courses, and I have my own grade sheets, and so I'll change that. So don't worry about that. So I'll change that based on what I said. So you don't have to worry about what's on the Google courses. Now I'll change that from my grade sheets. So I'll also include attendance point, so that the Google courses grade the book is not accurate. So don't worry about that. So this problem is try to give you point. It's like supposed to be easy one, giveaway question. That is, according to MM's zero tax theory, firm's value is unaffected by its financing mix. That's correct, right? VL is VU. According to MM's theory of the corporate taxes, the value of a levered firm is greater than the value of an unlevered firm because of what? Tax deductibility of interest. So you pay smaller tax savings, so value of a levered firm is greater than value of unlevered firm. That's correct. According to Miller's theory, so Miller is what? Just including personal tax rate, personal tax. The use of debt financing remains advantageous, but benefits are higher. That's wrong, right? Benefits are lower than only corporates. Benefit of debt is lower. Still, debt is beneficial, but lower than only under corporate taxes. The C is correct. MM theory ignores bankruptcy costs. That's correct. MM assumed that investors and managers have the same information, symmetric information. Classical economics. Is that true? Answer is C. So that was the quiz. And today we'll continue capital structure topic. And then, they said that without tax, okay, MM without tax, VL is VU, right? VL is VU. That is M&M without tax. And they proved that this proof is kind of Nobel Prize winning, just intuition. That is the question. How did they prove? They proved using arbitrage argument. Arbitrage means what? Arbitrage profit is what? No risk profit. No risk profit, then what? Everybody want to take just that profit. So people try to trade based on arbitrage profit. So they just try to buy lower price asset and sell higher price asset. Then what? Buy low, sell high. So for high price asset that is selling pressure, the price will go down. Low price asset buying pressure, price will go up. So the VL becomes VU. So there should be no arbitrage profit. But that is the main thing. So what the procedure of proof is that if the valuable added form is 4 million, that is what? That is greater than, VL is greater than VU. That is what? That is here, 2.57 million. So if VL is not VU, this is what this means. If VL is greater than VU, right? So instead of, so 3.57. S is only stock, so 3.57, right? D plus S VL, 3.57, so sorry. So 3.57. $3.57, VL is greater than VU, 3.57, right? So 4 million is greater than 3.57. That means if that is the case, then what? Then it is saying that there will be the arbitrage profit opportunity. So this one shows you that if that's the case, people will try to sell VL because it's 3.57 million, but it's 4 million, then there is abnormal profit opportunity, right? You try to sell high valued asset and buy low valued asset, right? Buy low, sell high. So, but before we do that, status quo is, if that's the case, before you take advantage of price differential, right? Wrong price, take advantage of. Before you take advantage of the arbitrage profit, this is that, suppose you own 10% of, this is what we did last class, 10% of firm L's equity, then what? Then 4 million is firm price and 1 million is debt, then what? Then 3 million is equity price for firm L. But it's 10%, so 0.1 times 3. So 0.3 million is your value, right? 0.3 million. Then your cash flow is equal to 10% of dividends paid by the firm, right? You own 10%. So this is zero growth, so all the net income will be paid as dividends, no growth. It's 100% payout ratio. So dividend is just net income, right? And net income, 100% payout ratio. Then what? EBIT minus interest. Interest is what? Debt times interest rate. So that is 1 million. Interest rate 8%, that's given, right? Then 420,000, that is dividend. You have 10% share, so 10% of 420,000. So 42,000 is your annual cash flow, annual dividend income. So that is status quo, right? Then what? Then now arbitrage process is such that, as I said, buy low, sell high. So sell your stock in firm L then again, if you sell stock, 10% of your whole company, you have 10% of whole company value, but equity value 3 million times. So 0.3 million, right? And then you borrow 10% of Forum L's debt, so 1 million times 0.1 million. Then total money available is 0.4 million, right? 0.3 million from sale of your stock in Forum L and 0.1 million from borrowing. So total 0.4 million. Then out of 0.4 million, you spend 0.357 million to buy 10% of Forum U's stock, because as you know, Forum U's value is 3.57 million, right? That is here again. Forum U is this 3.57 million. Right. So you need 10% of Forum U is 10% of 3.57 is 0.1 times 10% of 3.57 is 0.357 million. Then the remaining 43,000 is 0.4 million minus the money you spent to buy the stock. Then what? You get 0.043 million. There is 43,000. You use that to buy risk-free debt. Okay, so everything is risk-free. Then, so that's the last class. Then today, then now your cash stream would now be 10% of Forum U's dividend from 3. That is what you bought Forum U's stock, 10% from your stock. Then Forum U is just EBIT because no interest. So that is dividend of Forum U, right? Because this one is EBIT minus I is EBT, but that is net income, right? Because net income, because 100%, it is 100% dividend. So, but from you, I0, right? I0, so EBIT minus 0 is EBIT. That's why EBIT is dividend. Okay, that is dividend. Dividends of Forum U, right? So you own 10% of that, so 0.1 times 0.5 million, then what? 50,000. Plus the return on the extra 43,000 you invest in risk-free debt from 4, so what? 8% times 43,000, 3,440 minus, because what? You borrow money at 8%, but you borrow 0.1 million. So 0.1 million times 8%, 8,000 you have to pay because you borrowed money. You have to pay interest. Then what? 50,000 from investment, 10% from you, that is dividend, plus 3,440 is the lending money at risk-free rate, whatever is left, money is left. Then what? This is interest on just 0.1 million you borrowed. Then 45 3440 versus status quo 42,000. So 3440 is arbitrage profit. That is what? No risk profit. You can just get 3440 without any risk, right? All you have to do is just sell from L and buy from U and borrow risk-free debt and buy from U and invest the remainder of money. That means what? This 3440 is available. So that means the people will do this one. Everybody will do this one. Then what? Then price of from L go down because everybody want to try to sell the stock, right? Go down until arbitrage profit is zero, right? So that is, the proof. So the price has to be VL is VU in equilibrium, right? If not, the market is not in equilibrium. People try to buy U selling from L. So the selling pressure price will go down until it is VU. Then what? Then there is no arbitrage profit. So VL has to be the same as VU. That is the argument. So that is a good exercise whenever you want to prove your argument, right? That means what? If not, as long as there is the arbitrage profit, then people will just do it until there is no arbitrage profit. So price has to be VL is VU so that there is no arbitrage profit. So VL is VU in equilibrium. So that is good, argument. And it's not that difficult. All you have to do is what? Buy low, sell high, okay? Sell high valued, high means what? Sell overvalued stock and buy undervalued. In this case, VU is not undervalued, but, just sell higher valued stock and buy lower valued stock, right? Then what? There's arbitrage profit. By following this procedure, you make 3,440 without any risk. Everybody want to do that, and then excess like supply of from L, price will go down. Okay, so that is so this is very important. So you have to practice, right? But not very difficult, but you need to practice. So you should be able to calculate this arbitrage profit. So that's not at the end of the proof. Proof is, so since there is, so we can finish this one like, since the arbitrage profit exists, VL cannot be, the VL is the price of VL the price of VL cannot be, more precisely the value of VL cannot be 4 million until it drops to 3.57 million. So PL is PU in equilibrium. So that is the end of the proof. So all you have to do is show, if the price is not the same, arbitrage profit will exist. So VL is VU. Very good thing. So please practice to calculate 3440. And then what happens to RSL? RSL is just the formula we have seen in chapter 15. RSL is RSU plus RSU minus RD times DORS, right? Then 14% given. This is also given. RD is given. And T is 1 million, right? And S is total value of firm minus 1 million, that's 2.57 million. Then you get 16.33%. So chapter 15, we just did it verbally, but chapter 16, we just use numbers, actually check. And then what? Proposition 1 implies that WAG is RSU. Why? Same thing, EBIT over RSU. That is what? VU. That is EBIT over WAC. That is VL. So VL is EBIT over WAC. VU is EBIT over RSU. So for VL equal to VU, RSU has to be WAC. So let's check using WAC formula, WD times RD plus WE times RS. So D over V times RD 8%. And S over V, there's WS times RS, voila, 14%. So RSU is the same as WAC. And actually, for Form U, 100% equity company, RSU equals WAC. Why? Because, all D is, double D is 0 for this company, VU. WD is 0, right? So just RSU times 1 plus that is 0. So 0 times RD is 0 anyway. So RSU. So in fact, from U, RSU is WAC too, right? Because the weight of equity is 100%. So WAC is actually RSU. Form L, WAC is just actually weighted average. That weighted average of RD and RSL, in this case RSL, RD and RSL. And actually that's same as RSU, 14%. Right. So this one is more like RSL. So that is RSU. So if we draw a graph, it is like you have debt over value is debt ratio. And as you borrow more and more debt, this assumption is the RD doesn't change. Risk-free rate, 8%. And then what? As you borrow more and more, RS goes up, RSL, RS goes up, then weighted average of RS and D stay the same, WACC stays the same. That is RSU. So that is RSU. That is what? 14%. So that is pretty strange, but with all those assumptions, that happens. So the more debt the firm adds to its capital structure, the riskier the equity becomes, and thus the higher its cost, right? Cost of equity is getting higher, and that is this, getting higher, right? Getting higher. And then, although RD remains constant, RS increases with leverage. The increase in RS is exactly sufficient to keep the WACC constant. Pretty strange result because of, again, unrealistic assumptions. All those unrealistic assumptions, strangely, just increase in RS is exactly offset by just RD. And as you know, the higher debt means what? Higher weight of debt. So the higher RS is offset by higher weight of debt and lower rate of debt. So it's exactly offset. So that's the case. So VL is VU. So just firm value is 3.57 million, regardless of that level. So with zero taxes, MM argued that value is unaffected by leverage, right? So we did that in chapter 15 without these numbers, but now chapter 16, we just kind of prove this one, okay? Just with all those assumptions, that's the case. VL is VU. But as I said, people criticize this theory because you can just have all those unrealistic assumptions, but clearly you cannot ignore tax. Tax is there, right? Somebody even says that tax and death, the two you cannot avoid, something like that, right? So how can you ignore tax, right? So because of that criticism, they introduced the second paper, 1958, the first paper, 1963, the second paper, they add corporate tax. So T is corporate tax. So what happens to value of company, equity value, and cost of equity, and WACC for Form U and Form L. And then when you add corporate taxes, they said that VL, the valuable of the company, is same as VU plus T times D. T is tax rate, right? And D is debt. Why? Because they prove that because there is no other like bankruptcy cost, financial distress cost, all those things are not there. So they only consider tax benefit of debt. Since they only considered benefit of debt, that has to be better, higher debt has to be better than no debt, right? That's pretty obvious, okay? Their conclusion is pretty obvious because of their assumption, okay? There is no bankruptcy-related cost, okay? Then what? Then that is only beneficial, tax benefit. That's totally kind of absurd like conclusion, right? So that is natural. If you forget about all the cost, but only think about benefit, then what? The borrowing money is really beneficial, only beneficial. So that's why BL is BU plus TD. Then what? Then this TD, it comes from perpetuity formula. So annual tax savings is such that you all D times D, all D times D is what? What is all D times D? Kind of, you guys are so silent, so I just want to have some interaction. What is all D times D?
Interest times debt.
Huh?
Interest times debt.
Yeah, but what is that?
Payment.
Yeah, that is interest payment, interest. RD is interest rate. D is debt. Debt times interest rate is what? That's interest payment. And that's tax deductible. So debt times T is annual tax savings. Debt tax shield. That is debt tax shield, annual debt tax shield. Interest, all the times D is interest. You can deduct the interest, then what? Times T, that is what? Annual tax savings, all the times D. Then what? That is, the M&M assumes perpetuity, so that will continue forever. So then what? What is that? What is the present value of perpetuity? What is the present value of perpetuity? Formula.
Isn't it the monthly payment divided by the interest rate or the discount rate?
So that is payment over actually interest rate. We use I in this case, but we use I as interest. So let's say RD, right? RD is interest rate. So payment is this, annual cash inflow, annual tax savings. So RD times D times T, I use T as a capital, so capital letter. So I have to use it to be consistent is T, big T. So RD times D times T over RD, then what? Then this RD and RD cancel each other. So you have T times D. And there is why you get TD, okay? So this theory only emphasizes tax benefit of debt. And present value of tax benefit is what? TD, T times D. The debt tax shield, present value of all future debt tax shield. So when you include that TD, now RS is RSU plus RSU minus RD times DS. That is the original proposition, but you enter 1 minus T after tax. So RSL has become lower by what? 1 minus T, 1 minus T, right? That is the proposition, 1 minus T. So, if interest rate or any cost is lower, then value is high. So that means if you have debt, the company value goes up. Okay, VL is greater than VU. That is second paper. Then what? Then when corporate taxes are added, VL is not VU. VL is greater than VU. VL increases as debt is added to the capital structure. And greater the debt usage, the higher the value of the firm. That is what? The more that the company has, the higher the value. That's kind of pretty much wrongful conclusion, right? That's the actually like that's the harmful effect of theory, right? People, so you should not just believe theory as 100%, right? The theory is just theory. Real life is more complicated than the theory. You cannot just explain real life with one formula, one equation. You cannot do that, right? So this one is really negatively affected American business society. So before this paper, the debt level was low, but because of this paper, companies start to borrow more, and with that, there have been more bankruptcies, right? People didn't think about bankruptcy cost. Okay, cost is not included. They only include benefit of debt. So benefit, they think benefit, like that is good, right? That's wrong influence. Okay, be careful. So that you have to. But then, does this paper is useless? No, it's still theory has some merit. That is what they emphasized the benefit of debt. That is true, right? Tax benefit is there, right? They emphasize tax benefit. That's the merit of this paper. But the conclusion is not really something that you take it without the grain of salt. Okay, that doesn't make sense. So RSL increases with leverage at a slow rate than corporate taxes are considered. Like what? That is 1 minus T there, 1 minus T. So if cost increase slowly, then what? The value goes up slowly. Why? Because cost goes down, value goes up, right? Because cost is what? Cost of capital is in the denominator. If the denominator is smaller, the value is higher, right? So that's why VL is greater than VU. Then let's use some numbers. Now, the difference is that now it's not EBIT, but EBIT times 1 minus T, okay? With tax, corporate tax. So EBIT times 1 minus T. This one is VU, so it's just EBIT times 1 minus T. Then 2142857. So that represents 40% decline from no tax situation. So that is this VU plus TD. T is 40% and D is 1 million. So you add 400,000. So VL is 2542857. Okay, that is, yeah. VL is greater than VU, right? Then we can just calculate the D and S separate. That is what? Total value is 2542857, but D is 1 million, so S has to be 1542857. So 2542857 minus 1 million, 1542857. Then RSL is what? Use RSU plus RSU minus RLD times 1 minus T and T over S, then you get 16.33. And then WACC is what? WACC, look at this WACC. WACC is, there is 1 minus t there, right? Tax benefit. RD times 1 minus t plus RS. Look at this. WACC goes down. That is definitely lower than RSU, that is 14%. So when corporate taxes are considered, the WACC is lower for L than for U. So that's why WACC is lower, that means what? Price is higher, right? I told you that there is one-to-one relationship between WACC and the value of the company. WACC is low. So WACC is, when WACC is lowest, the value of the company is highest, right? One-to-one correspondence. So WACC is lower means what? Value is higher. So L's WACC is lower than U's WACC, so L's value is higher than value of U. So we have MM with corporate tax, then that ratio, the more you borrow, definitely RS goes up, but RD is even lower because RD times 1 minus T. So WACC goes down. The more you borrow, the lower the WACC. So conclusion, still the same. Not the same. The conclusion is different. That is what? MM with no tax, VL is VU. Capital structure doesn't matter, but now with tax, capital structure matters. The more you borrow, the higher the value. The lower WACC, that means the higher value. So the more of that, the better, right? Pretty strange conclusion. Then it's like this. The value-wise, the x-axis is that the more that you have, VU stay the same, but VL goes up straight, okay? The more that the tax shield become higher and higher, right? The more that it gets higher and higher. So under MM with the corporate taxes, the firm's value increases continuously as more and more that is used. So that doesn't really make sense. But as I said, the merit of this theory is that this theory emphasizes the tax benefit of that. Then finally, Miller model. Miller model is that Miller with personal taxes. So you have personal tax on debt is 30%. Personal tax on equity is 12%, let's say. Then you have this formula, looks more difficult, more complicated. And as I said, what he just argued was that this square bracket is 0. Then what? Then VL is VU. I told you that there is a scholar's ego. He first says that capital structure doesn't matter, right? But because of criticism, they changed their conclusion. That may have hurt Miller's ego. So Miller introduced personal taxes and says that VL is VU plus this square bracket times TD, and this square bracket is 0. So 0 times D is 0, so VL is VU. See what he was trying to go back to his original proposition, right? So it's TC, C means corporate tax, TD is personal tax on debt income, TS is personal tax rate on stock income. So this one is the most comprehensive formula because if TC equals TS equals TD equals all 0, then what? Then you get VL is VU, right? Then what? Then first paper with no tax, right? But if TS and TD equals 0, then VL is VU plus TD with only corporate tax. And with everything, and this is the most general, right? Because if TS is 0 and TD is 0, then those ones are 1, 1. So 1 minus 1 plus TC, 1 minus 1 is 0 plus TC. So TC times D. So that is exactly T times the TC. T means this is corporate tax rate, right? So it goes back to their second paper. Everything is 0, then there goes back to the original paper. But this is, when you include personal tax, then this is final conclusion. It's the most sophisticated. But the value of the paper doesn't depend on how sophisticated or how complex the equation is, but the intuition. And actually, not like his argument, the square bracket is not 0. So in real life, square bracket is not 0. So, but before that, his argument is what? This square bracket is 0. Then there is VU, right? That is, if 1 minus TC times 1 minus TS equals 1 minus TD, then this is 1. Then what? Then this is 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0, right? If 1 minus TC times 1 minus TS is 1 minus TD, then this is 1, so 1 minus 1 is 0, right? But as I said, in reality, 1 minus TC times 1 minus TD is less than, 1 minus TS is less than 1 minus TD. So if this is less than this, then what? Then this one is less than 1. So 1 minus less than 1 is positive. So according to this formula, the square bracket is positive. So positive times T is bigger than 0. So VL is greater than VU, right? So VL is greater than VU. So when we apply reasonable numbers, TC 40%, TD is 30%, and TS 12%, then this is just one example, right? Then what? VL is VU plus not TD, but not TCD. TC is 40%, not TCD, but VU plus, so compared to VL is VU plus 0.4D, right? The second paper, right? TCD, right? TC is 40%, but this is 0.25D, more like real life case. So value rises with that. So each $100 increase in that wages has value by $25 because 0.25, right? 0.25. 100 times 0.25 is 25. So important thing is intuition. So according to this formula, VL is VU plus 0.25D. Let me ask you, what is the optimal debt level? What this formula just says about optimal capital structure? Compared with this, what this formula says about the optimal capital structure. How much debt do you want to have? Be bold participation. Actually, this is easy. That is what 0.25D or 0.4D, basically the same. The more debt, the higher the VL, right? So the conclusion doesn't change. See, the complicate, just formula doesn't add anything. Just, your policy, capital structure policy is that what, the more debt, the better off you are. But only thing this one adds is what? The value of that is not as big as the second paper. It's kind of smaller, but still that is very valuable. The more that, the better, right? So this, the benefit of this paper is limited, okay? Just the difference in debt policy. The higher debt, the better. But only that the debt, benefit is lower compared to second paper, right? 0.25 versus 0.4. But conclusion doesn't change. The more that, the better. Then, when we compare Miller model and MM model with corporate taxes, a second paper, then if you have only corporate taxes, then VL is VU plus 0.4 times D, so 0.4 times D. Here, $100 of debt raises value by $40. Thus, personal taxes lowers the gain from leverage, but the net effect depends on tax rates. So the only useful conclusion is that it lowers the gain from leverage, right? Lowers the benefit of debt. So if you use personal tax, right, Miller's model, personal tax, Miller's model, then what? If you add personal tax, benefit of debt is smaller than when you use only corporate tax. But the net effect depends on tax rates. How much? It depends on tax rates. So using numbers, it is more understandable what he said. So if TS declines, so TS means what? Tax rate on equity income declines, and while TC and TD remain constant, the slope coefficient, which shows the benefit, is decreased. The slope coefficient is this. This is slope coefficient, T times D. And if this TS, so let me show you this. If TS is this, right? If TS goes down, then 1 minus T goes up, right? So numerator is greater, then what? Then this total is greater. So 1 minus greater value, then what? The value will be smaller, right? 1 minus greater value, then the square bracket becomes smaller. And that is what this means. The slope coefficient, the square bracket decreased. That is what? Value of that goes down. So a company with a low payout ratio gets lower benefit of that on the Miller model than company with a high payout, because low payout decreases TS. Why? Low payout means what? Their dividend is smaller compared to what? Capital gains, right? So capital gains tax rate is lower usually, and they can postpone capital gains payment. Why? Capital gains are not taxed until what? You sell the stock, right? That's why I told you that it's a good investment for young people for their retirement. Stock may be a good investment. Why? Even though stock price goes up, you don't pay tax on unrealized gain. Realized gain is what? When you sell the stock, you realize the gain, right? Unrealized gain, no matter how big, you don't pay tax. So it's like tax-free accumulation of your wealth, right? If you buy, but if you invest something else, if you like deposit your money in the bank, the interest is what? Taxable. So you pay tax. Nothing is tax-free, but stock investment, stock price goes up, no matter how high the stock price goes up, until you sell it, you don't pay tax, right? So the low payout decreases TS because what? Capital gains tax rate is low, and also you can defer capital gains tax rate as long as you don't sell it, right? But dividend, you have to get it anyway, right? You pay tax. So, just that is just not very beneficial for equity, right? Equity, but if you pay low dividend, right? Low dividend, then what? The benefit of equity is higher, then what? Benefit of debt is lower, right? Lower benefit of debt under the Miller model. So the low payout decreases TS. The lower personal tax rate, the greater the benefit of equity, then what? Then what? Benefit of debt goes down, okay? So always there is a kind of competition between debt and equity, right? But equity tax rate goes down, then what? Equity is more beneficial. Then debt is less valuable. So benefit of debt goes down, right? So if you add personal tax rate, then benefit of debt goes down, okay? So lower benefit of debt. And that is, it's related to our quiz, right? Lower benefit of debt. And we talked about that in chapter 15. And that's why that's on the quiz. But using, numbers, it becomes more clear. Then, as I said, this is just summary. Why do personal taxes lower value of debt? Corporate tax law favor debt over equity financing because interest expense is tax deductible while dividends are not, right? You cannot deduct dividend when you pay tax because dividends are only paid from what? After tax income. So dividend is not deductible, but interest is deductible. So corporate tax law favor debt. So the higher debt, the better. That's what they said. But personal tax law favors equity over debt because, as I said, stock provide both tax deferral. Okay, you can just defer tax by not selling the stock and lower capital gains tax rate compared to just that income, tax rate on that income. So personal tax laws favors equity over debt. That's why that benefit goes down if you just introduce personal tax. So this lowers the relative cost of equity vis-a-vis MM's no personal tax world and decrease the spread between debt and equity cost. So some of the advantage of debt financing is lost. So debt financing is less valuable. Okay. The benefit of debt is lower. Same thing. Debt finance less valuable to firms. So, this is, the spread between debt and equity cost means what? Equity costs are definitely higher than debt, right? So, but if like personal taxes included, then relative cost of equity just goes down. So the spread is just smaller because what? RS minus RD, this is the spread, right? That goes down because, relative cost of equity goes down if you introduce personal tax. So RS goes down, then what? The spread goes down, right? So the advantage of debt finance, some of the advantage of debt financing lost. So debt financing is less valuable to firms, right? So the benefit of debt goes down, but still valuable, but less valuable, right? Because 0.25 is still greater than 0, right? Even though it is less than 0.4, right? 0.4 is corporate tax, only corporate tax is 0.4, including personal taxes, 0.25. This is less valuable. So that's the only merit of Miller's paper. So let's just summarize. Let's summarize what capital structure theory suggests for corporate managers. And then no tax. Capital structure is irrelevant. No impact on value of WACC. So you don't have to worry about capital structure. That's first paper. Second paper, with the corporate taxes, value increases, so firms should use almost 100% debt financing. The higher, the better. The Miller with additional personal taxes, value increases, but less than under But the conclusion is what? Firms should use almost 100% debt finance. So about the capital structure, Miller model doesn't add anything. Okay, 100% debt, same conclusion, right? So that's why the merit of the Miller's paper is limited, even though it is more sophisticated. The only thing the Miller model contribute is what? So value of debt is smaller if you include personal taxes. That's the only thing. Then, do firms follow the recommendations of capital structure theory? Firms don't follow. Then in Miller model, 200% debt. Their ratios average about 40%. However, their ratios did increase after MM. Many think that ratio was too low, and MM led to changes in financial policies. So that's what I'm saying. That's the power of theory. Before MM's paper, people didn't think about the tax benefit of debt too much, but since MM only emphasized, that benefit, tax benefit of debt, people think that is good. So they increased their debt. So many people went bankrupt, right? That's the big problem. So you should treat all theories with grain of salt, okay? Don't just take their conclusion 100%, okay? That may be wrong. But their merit, only merit of their paper is that one. If you borrow money, there is tax benefit. Everybody knows that, right? Tax benefit, right? That you cannot deny, but that's it, okay? But you have to also include, bankruptcy cost. That's why we did it, chapter 15, we have some exercise, right? So MM, RD stay the same. That's wrong because that didn't include bankruptcy cost. But in chapter 15, we had that schedule, then what? The debt, cost of debt goes up, right, as they borrow more and more money because of bankruptcy cost or financial distress cost, right? So that analysis is a lot better than the MM model. MM, there is no limit, just the more that, the better. That doesn't make sense. So, you have to consider not only that benefit, but also cost of debt, the financial distress cost. And because of time, I have to cover a dividend. A dividend is my area. I have my own theory. So the final exam until here and chapter 17. So chapter 17 is dividend, right? So we'll stop here. So you're not responsible about this. Then what happens if companies are growing, right? Surprisingly, when you make it more sophisticated, more complicated, the result slightly change, not change a lot, okay? So that is the later, but you are not responsible for all those ones. And then we'll go on to cover chapter 17, distributions to shareholders and dividends and repurchases. And why we include repurchases? Because dividends and repurchases are exactly the same in finance in the sense of cash distributions to shareholders. The only difference is what? If they pay dividends, then what? All the shareholders will get the dividend, right? All the shareholders. If they repurchases, then those who tender means sell their stock back to the company, those who tender their shares to the company get cash, right? But they get cash, right? So in terms of cash distribution, dividends and repurchases are the same. If the company is paying cash to shareholders, same thing, except that dividends is paying cash to all all stockholders, but repurchases is only those who sell their shares back to company, they get cash. That's the only difference. Then what? We'll talk about theories and like stock repurchases, stock dividends, stock split, dividend and reinvestment plan. So we'll cover as much as possible. So don't worry. So the exam is until we cover. So those ones are like, like probably multiple choice question if this is because there is no numbers, right? Then what are the theories? The theories on, do investors prefer high dividend or low dividend? There are three theories. Dividends are irrelevant. Investors don't care about payout. What's your guess? Whose theory is this, do you think? The reason I ask is that you can guess. The dividends are irrelevant. So that is actually M&M. They are very famous in irrelevance theory. They said capital structure is irrelevant, dividend is irrelevant, under some very just restricted assumptions. And then bird in the hand, that is what? A bird in the hand is better than two birds in the bush, right? That is what? They like dividend. The dividend is a bird in the hand. It's a sure thing. You get cash in your pocket. But capital gains is what? Capital gains are two birds in the bush. Because capital gains is what? The company may just use the capital gains and invest in some the projects, and they may just, then may be a failure. Then what? It's like two birds fly away, right? So they like cash. And finally, tax preference theory. Investors prefer a low payout because what? If they pay dividend, they have to pay tax, right? So they pay low payout. So they like growth rather than just income stock. They like growth stock rather than income stock. Income stock is high dividend paying stocks, like utility companies. They pay high dividend. So three theories says that dividends are irrelevant, and bird in the hand says that people like high dividend stocks. Tax preference theory says that people like low dividend stocks. Then which one is correct, right? So let's check. Dividend irrelevance theory. So the investors are indifferent between dividends and retention generated capital gains. If they want cash, then they can sell stock. If they don't want cash, they can use dividends to buy stock. So they have their choice. So again, Mardiglen and Miller. But as I said, theory is based on unrealistic assumptions, no taxes or brokerage cost, so hence may not be true. Need empirical test. Next, bird in the hand theory. Investors think dividends are less risky than potential future capital gains, so they like dividends. As I said, they like a bird in the hand. A bird in the hand is what? Dividends. And two birds in the bush is capital gains. If you catch the two birds, it's better than one bird, right? But they may fly away, right? So they don't like uncertain gains. They like certain dividend. So investors would value high payout firms more highly. So high payout results in a high stock price. So according to this theory, according to theory, if a company initiates, as you know, the first time in the company history they paid dividend, initiates or increases dividends, the stock price will what?
Go up.
Check. Good answer. So let's just circle this one. So that is, you know, the condition. According to this theory, if a company initiates or increase dividend, the stock price will go up, right? But the question can be more tricky. The cost of equity, RS, will what do you think?
Go down.
Check. Good answer. Will go down. So if this is on the exam, it's easy to say that the stock price will go up. Many people choose that. But cost of equity will go down. Don't forget, cost and price is what? Inverse relationship. Cost goes down, so price goes up, right? Always think that way. So, but it is not easy to think about cost of equity directly, right? So I recommend you to just think this way. First, think about stock price. According to this theory, people like dividends, so when company pays dividend, they like the company, price goes up, right? Demand goes up, price goes up. Then what? Then think about cost of equity is opposite. So cost of equity goes down. Always think about that because, as I said, WACC is lowest when the price is highest, right? WACC is cost of capital. Goes down, then price goes up, right? Always the inverse relationship. So same thing. The stock price will go up, then cost of equity will go down. So that is very, very important to think, okay? So, as I said, if you think about cost of equity directly, it may be kind of confusing, right? But if you think about stock price first, pretty easy. Stock price goes up, cost of equity will go down, okay? So the people like high dividend paying stocks. So the price goes up. You can think this way. You can think this way. Price goes up, then what? You have to pay high price, then what? Then you expect return may go down. Why? You pay high price, so the investment is high, then what? Return may be low, right? High price means low return. You can think that way, but the best way is think what happens to price, then cost of equity will just the opposite. Then let's just apply to this one. Then what? Then this, oops, not this one. This part is the same. According to this theory, if company initiate or increase dividend, the stock price will what? According to dividend irrelevance theory, the stock price will what? Anybody?
Professor, can you repeat the question, please?
Question is here. That is this. According to this theory, if a company initiates or increase dividends, that's why I make it colors, blue color. That one is this one. So it is just to save time, to save time. Yeah.
Go up.
Go up, why?
That was a guess.
Yeah,
thought
Wrong answer.
dividends are irrelevant. So
So what?
what would that do? Nothing to the stock price?
Check. It will stay the same. It's irrelevant. So no effect, right? The answer is the stock price will stay the same. Then what? RSU, not RSU, RSL. The cost of equity will stay the same thing. So the cost of equity, RS, will same thing, stay the same. So that's dividend irrelevance. Bird in the hand theory, stock price will go up. And tax preference theory is such that low payouts mean higher capital gains, and capital gains taxes are deferred. So this could cause investors to prefer firms with low payouts, right? That is, a high payout results in low stock price. That is what. Since capital gains are better than dividends in terms of tax, right? Capital gains can be deferred, and capital gains tax rate can be lower than dividend tax rate, right? So investors prefer firms with low payout. So high payout result in low stock price. So again, same thing. This one is, again, this one is this one. According to this theory, if a company initiates or increase dividends, the stock price will what?
Go down.
Check, go down. Go down. Then the cost of equity,
It goes up, right?
check, goes up. Good answer. Always think the opposite. Price goes down, then what? It's like buying at cheaper price, then what? You expect higher return on equity, right? That is kind of way of thinking price and return relationship. So as I said, cost goes down, then what? Price goes up. Price goes up, cost goes down. So that is how to solve the problem, right? So you have to know which one is correct, right? And those are like empirical questions. So in real life, how investors respond to dividends, right? So let's see implications. Tax dividend irrelevance theory, any payout, okay, so it doesn't matter. And Bird in the hand said high payout, people like high dividend. And tax preference theory said low payout, right? As I said, that is how to just deal with theories, right? Don't take any theory 100%. All you have to do is what? Some merit in the theory, right? given very strict assumptions with no tax, dividend may not be relevant. But since there is tax, it may not be relevant. And bird in the hand theory, that makes sense. People like dividends, that is true. And tax preference theory, that's true. Tax law favors low dividend, right? So that's true too. Then according to tax effect, there is a clientele effect. Clientele effect means different group of investors or clienteles prefer different dividend policies. That means firm's past dividend policy, determines its current clientele of investors. So clientele effect impedes, that is what prevents changing dividend policy, okay? Because if you change dividend policy, then certain clienteles don't like that because taxes and brokerage costs hurt investors who have to switch companies due to changing the payout policy. So they don't want to upset current shareholders. For example, I told you about income stocks. That is what high dividend stocks like utility companies. Then what? They pay high dividend, but stock price increase is minimal because they income stocks. So like retirees, okay, all the people without income, they like income stocks because they don't have to sell their stocks and they have stocks, but dividend comes regularly. So dividend is like kind of income, right? So they like high dividend stocks like utility companies. Then what? When the company change policy, well, they will get angry calls from all the people, right? You know, so that is clientele effect. People, some kind of tax bracket people. So it's simply the high tax bracket people like growth stocks, low dividend stocks or no dividend stock. They pay high tax. But low tax bracket people, they like income stocks. They like dividend, right? That is clientele effect. And that is something you cannot also ignore as a financial manager. So it is very important not to change your dividend policy abruptly. You know, the current stockholders may not like that. So far, those theories are what? Old theories, classical economics. That is what? Symmetric information. So managers and stockholders have the same information. But from this one, we have asymmetric information. Asymmetric means what? Not symmetric. Then means what? Shareholders and managers have different information. So, you know, agency theory, you remember agency problem, right? Stockholders and stockholders and managers, they may have principal agent problem. So managers have to maximize stockholders' wealth, but they may just use money for their own benefit, like big, you know, corporate office, corporate airplane, when you don't need it, something like that. Then that is what? Simply they waste money for their own benefit. So dividends act as a mechanism to pay out free cash flows to shareholders. So there is less chance of investing money on negative NPV projects. Simply, they have less chance of wasting their money, right? So dividend, so this one, same thing. According to this, according to this theory, the stock price will, what? What do you think? Will what?
Go up.
Same time, go up because what? This mechanism that just alleviate agent problem. So that because of that, they have there is less chance of wasting money. So this good mechanism, the dividend, when they pay dividend, the agency problem goes down, the stock price goes up. The next one is what? Signaling theory. Signaling theory. That is what? Investors view dividends as changes, dividend changes as signals of managers' view of the future. Managers hate to cut dividends, so won't raise dividends unless they think the raise is sustainable. So a stock price increase at time of dividend increase could reflect higher expectations for future EPS. So they pay dividend to signal their value. So same thing. According to this theory, the stock price will what? What? Will go up because what? Dividend is signal that we are gonna have high profit. We are a good company. So stock price will go up. Dividend is a signal that their company is good company. So stock price will go up, and I'll skip that cost of equity will go down. Okay. And finally, my theory. I told you that I have my own theory, right? All the previous theories are what? One time, just the one period theory. So this one is what? A multi-period model. So all the previous models are one period model. One period models. But this one is multiple, and one period model is not enough to explain dividend. Why? Unlike all the other financial events, like takeover, when they take over the company, they don't think that there is another takeover. It depends, right? Stock splits. When they split the stock, you don't know whether there is another split, right? But dividend is different. Dividend is the financial event that what? When they start paying dividend, then what? There is expectation that what? The company will keep paying dividend. That expectation, in other words, only dividend, when it happens, people expect that the company will keep paying dividend, right? That expectation cannot be captured by one period model. Other financial events, one period model is okay, but dividends, you have to have multi-period model to see the time aspects of time aspects of dividends. That is what? it is pretty similar. See, the time aspect incorporates time aspect is important. Unlike signaling theory, a one-time payment of dividend cannot fully separate high-value firms from low-value firms. Why? Low-value firms may have a good time, very lucky. They have a good cash flow, so they can mimic high-value firm. They pretend that they're high-value firm by paying dividend. Then what? Then the first dividend, there are many, many good firms, but there are also many low-value firms who pretends that they are good value firms. So the signal is not clear, not clean signal. But as time goes, when the company second time pay dividend, good companies still can pay, they are good, but bad companies, some of them cannot pay because they are not good. So signal become purer. And then what? The next period, again, good companies still can pay dividend, but bad companies, they cannot pay dividend, some of them. So eventually, when they keep paying dividend as the company continues to pay dividend through time, the firm established a reputation. Its stock price fully represents its true value. So this theory, I think, is better because what? This one incorporates time aspects, and this theory is in my textbook, right? So you can understand dividend better because what? Because of reputation theory, we can explain many, many things. So same thing. According to this theory, when the company initiate or increase dividend, the stock price will, what do you think? Go up, because what? They signal their value, but not as high as signaling theory in the beginning. But what? As time goes, it establishes reputation. So dividend is like a tool for establishing reputation. Then what? It fully represents its true value. So we see that historically, a company that pays dividend consistently, people give higher price, reputation premium. And this theory is really good. When company fail to keep paying dividend, then what? Stock price drops tremendously. Then what? Then other theories cannot explain that. For example, signaling theory, one-time dividend fully distinguishes between good and bad, the price should not change. But reputation theory can say that because they cannot pay dividend because they are originally bad company. The price dropped tremendously. So then how long, so I also have empirical paper, how long it takes to establish reputation, so 2 or 3 years of reputation building. So it takes 2 or 3 years. So after 2 or 3 years, people value the company as good company. So that is reputation theory. And so unfortunately, no more time, no more fun. So here, final exam until here. Final exam until here. From chapter 16, I said final exam until here, from that to chapter 17 until here. Wow, that was a time constraint. I just managed to finish. So, any question?
Professor, are we gonna know our grades for homework chapter 13?
Oh, chapter 13 grade is not there, then that means what? It hasn't graded yet. Yeah. Yes, many people, chapter 13 grade will be there, yeah, because my TA may be very busy. so it'll be there, yeah, don't worry. Yeah. And any other question?
Well, I mean, I kind of wanted to know so that we can use it to study for the final.
Yeah, so yeah, it'll be there before the final, yeah. So I'll email her, yeah, just to make sure. Yeah, people ask for the homework score. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay, so work hard. So, I think the best way to prepare for the exam is what? First, make sure that all 7 quizzes of third set, right? QT 1 to QT 7, right? All of them will be on the exam as before, but I'll change numbers and change some wordings. So that's definite, right? That is just 28%, a lot, right? That's first thing. You should not miss. Of course, you should not miss any question, but that one, and that's first thing. And secondly, you should review first midterm exam and second midterm exam, and also first set of quizzes and second set of quizzes, right? So those ones are almost half of the final exam. So that's efficient way of preparing for the exam. And then you have to, about after midterm exam 2, the new stuff, that is about 10 problems out of 25. About, I'm not saying 10, about 10. And then what? And then so more than half is what? From previous exams and quizzes. And then what? Then some problems from lecture notes from previous stuff can be on the final. We covered, but that was not on the midterm exam and quizzes. That can be on the final exam. So check first quizzes, QT 1 to QT 7, they are definitely on the final exam. And previous quizzes and previous exams, some of them will be on the exam. And then the stuff after second midterm exam, that will be the new ones on the exam. And some stuff that was not on the exam before can be, that may not be many, maybe 2 to 3. And then what? So study, quiz, previous exams, previous quizzes, and then study lecture note, and then study homework questions, and finally read the book. Then what? Then you are prepared. So study hard, and I hope you do well on the final exam. Okay.
So the time of the exam is on the is in the class time, Professor?
Oh, good question. That's a good question.
Isn't it 4 to 6?
Pardon?
Isn't it 4 to 6? That's the time period on Tuesday.
I think so. Let me just confirm that. That is in the syllabus, as you know. Now 4 to 6. Exam time is 4 to 6 p.m., but I'll give you from 3:54 to 6:10. Like I'll give you 15 more minutes. So 2 hour and 15 minutes. So don't forget that the time is 12 hours, 15 minutes. So if you start at 3:54, then what? Your exam will end 6:19, right? 6:19. No, 6:09, 6:09, right? 6:09, because originally 4 to 6, but I give you 15 more minutes. So it's so take advantage of this extra time. But the total limit is 2 hours and 15 minutes. Don't tell me that I thought it ends at 6:10 and I didn't submit whatever. Those excuses won't be taken. So you have to make sure that it's 2 hours and 15 minutes exam. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Professor,
Okay. Any other question?
I do. You said to also study exam 1 and exam 2, but I still don't have access to review or even see exam 2 in Cougar courses.
That is not on the
neither
core
do I.
courses? I think I have that on the core courses. Let me check, since you ask. Exams. Exam 1 with answers. Exam 2 with answers. That is in the core courses. Yeah, that is in the core courses. Yeah, check exams. Core courses, there is quizzes, assignments, exams, and then chapter 1, chapter 2, whatever. Then what? Click exams, and that, if you roll down, there is F404 S21 exam 1 with answers and exam 2 with answers. So you have all those ones with answers. So that is there. Okay.
Professor,
Oh,
on Cougar courses, is that grade that's displayed, is that accurate?
that's what I'm saying. Okay, that is not accurate. That doesn't include all I said. So that is just simple reference. And as I said, even though the grade didn't change there, I have my own grade sheet, so don't worry about that. I'll just incorporate, especially like attendance points is not there, right? I'll include attendance points. As I said, if you are late 3 times, there's 1 absent, right? I told you that 1 minute late is late, okay? So I already announced that. So, but if you haven't been late or absent, whatever, then you get 1 point, free bonus, yeah. If not,
Professor,
yeah.
I'm looking at the documents for the exams, and I show the questions on there, but I don't show the answers. Am I the only one?
You need to download it as a PDF. Then you're going to be able to see.
Check. Yeah.
As a
Download
PDF, not on Word?
Yes, PDF. It doesn't show on Word.
Thank you. You see, big participation for the class. Okay. So work hard. Okay. See you guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Professor.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you.